Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Work Commissioner meeting this morning. You notice there's a couple commissioners that are here right now. Commissioner Roots was involved in a car accident this morning on the way here. And Matt Cook had to go up there to assist him. He also, they may be on their way here to show that, but they're not here presently yet. So, this morning I called the meeting to order. We have the prayer this morning by Commissioner Bardwell and the pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Young. I appreciate that. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order.
Please rise while we let the join prayer. Holy Father, as we come to you this morning, we once again come to praise, honor, and glorify your name. We thank you for the many blessings you have given us. We thank you for your Son in this season. He was born and died for our sins, forgiveness of our sins. We ask this morning as we lift up our prayers that you be with us this day and to be with all those who are in need, whether spiritually or physically, that you bless them. Pray that you're with Matt and Bill, whatever the situation may be this morning, guide them as well. We pray for your mercy. Pray also for all who are in government, both national and state and local. We pray for them and their families. We ask for guidance, for truth and righteousness. We also ask, Lord, as always, we pray that you're with us this day and that you bless us with wisdom, that we may make decisions that are in the best interest of those who we represent. Be with all those that in our hearts and minds who need a special prayer this morning, whether sick or suffering, we just ask you to be with them as well, be your will. We ask all these blessings in Jesus, our Savior's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor.
Good deal. Hey, oh, there we go.
That's a quick answer.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah. Well, we know God's bad. We know he's not bad.
What are you saying on that person? Yeah.
Wait till it gets my toll bill.
Are you ready for roll call then?
We can do roll call, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Commissioner Young?
Here.
Commissioner Barbara?
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Here.
Commissioner Lee?
Here.
Commissioner Cook?
Here.
You have the floor, you may proceed.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. Anything to add to the agenda this morning? I have a couple things I want to add under old business. Number 4 of the old business, resend the motion control administrator that we talked about. Put that under number 4. And number 5, I'd like to add back the temporary intern administrator position over at the controller's office, number 5.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to,
Oh, and one more. Go ahead. I thought there was one other.
do that now?
Well, yeah, and then you want to add the other. You want to add something under other business?
Yes. The board commission to do a resolution for Kathy Hare. She's been on the ambulance for 37 years in Unionville, Village Council. Yeah, I can see.
Add that as other business,
Yes,
let's pass it then.
Other business is necessary.
He says the commission, I'll take care of everything else.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to add to the agenda?
You said that 4 and 5 were under other business or old business?
Old business.
Gotcha, thank you.
Thank you.
What about the CA?
I will handle, we can handle that at CA. Yeah.
Okay. With that, I take a motion to accept the agenda.
So,
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Cook to adopt the agenda with the additions and supported by Commissioner Young. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Absolutely done agenda. I mean, adopted the agenda. Adopted the approved. Moving on to action previous minutes.
Make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from November 25th, 2024 regular meeting.
Support.
So moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Young to adopt the meeting minutes from the November 25th, 2024 regular meeting. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. That approved. Okay, brief public comment period. Anybody wants to address the board on anything that's on the agenda this morning? And do it is now. Anybody want to address this board for anything on the agenda at this point in time, do that this right now? Seeing none, let the record show that brief public comment period was offered and we had no participants. Move into the consent agenda.
Chairman, on the consent agenda, there was one matter that was missed, so it does need to be added as item number 6. In reviewing the committee of the whole minutes, you did place the matter on the consent agenda, just to get it put on your minute sheet. And that was for your 2024 budget amendments that were presented by Ms. Zachmeister. That motion will read, move that the 2024 budget amendment 12-1 be approved as presented.
Okay, any questions on that?
I make motion consent agenda minutes and consent agenda items from the December 9th, 2024 committee of the whole meeting be adopted with that addition, number 6.
Yes, thank you.
Support. So moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Root, that the consent agenda minutes and consent agenda items from the December 9th, 2024 committee of the whole meeting be adopted with number 6 added to the agenda. That is the motion. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda has been approved. Move on to new business this morning. The consideration of approving $1,385,741.34 transfer from the 296 voter bridge fund to the 201 road commission fund per the request from Mike Tuckey, Finance Director of Tuscola County Road Commission.
I just wanted to bring one thing to your attention. He did hand this to me in person, and I did reach out to him because the date on the actual voucher says November 9th, 2023. So I did reach out to him, so just so you know that in your packet, that's the date of the voucher, but I can vouch for the date of when he handed it to me, which should have been 24.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to move to approve the transfer $1,385,741.34 from the voted bridge notes fund to the road commission fund as requested by Mike Tuckey, Finance Director, Tuscola County Road Commission.
I'll support that.
So moved by Commissioner Young, supported by Commissioner Cook, consideration of approving the move to approve the transfer of $1,385,741.34 from the voted bridge millage fund to the road commission fund as requested by Mike Tuck, Finance Director of the Tuscola County Road Commission. That is the motion. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion has been approved. Number 2, the 2024 budget amendment for the voted bridge fund 296.
I can cover this one, I know I'm not listed on here, but due to this large year-end transfer of them completing projects, the budget will have to be amended. He obviously has enough sufficient fund balance to cover this. As you recall, they were building this fund balance, but they weren't getting the projects done due to materials. Since it's year-end, and I thought it'd be a good time to go ahead and put this before you, and get this amended as well. So then that budget will be wrapped up for year-end.
Mr. Chair, I move that the voted bridge fund 296 line item 296-100-999-201 operating transfer of the county road to be increased by $1,386,000 due to the voucher 2024-2 for the year end. This would cause the budget to exceed the current budget. Significant fund balance is available for this action.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Root, supported by Commissioner Young, to move that the Road and Bridge Fund, 296 line item, 296-100-999-201, operating transfer out of the county road to be increased by $1,386,000 due to the voucher 2024-2 for year end. This would cause the budget to exceed current budget. Sufficient fund balance is available for this action. That is the motion. Any more discussion? There is none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Move on to number 3. The general fund budget amendment 12-2 recommended actions that were managed fiscal personal balance.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
As I was doing an audit of the Waymaster budget, I noted that according to their contract, it is not in our system according to the contract, so I'm asking for this budget amendment. I provided a copy of their contract as well.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
This doesn't come out of our general fund, it comes out of theirs.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move to approve the general fund budget amendment 12-2 for fiscal year 2024 as presented.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Young, supported by Commissioner Cook, to move to approve the general fund budget amendment 12-2 for fiscal year 2024 as presented. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion is approved. Thank you. Move on to number 4. Dispatch 911 request for the approval of 2025 Motorola services. John Mara.
Chairman, I move to approve the invoice for Motorola Solutions for dispatch service in 2025 presented by John Ramirez, dispatch director, which is basically, there's no presentation, but there is an amendment.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Young, to move to approve the invoice from Motorola Solutions for dispatch services in 2025 as presented by John Ramirez, dispatch director. Any more discussion?
Yes, is there a dollar amount in there somewhere? What I see on the computer, I don't see a dollar amount. I mean,
The email doesn't have a dollar amount. Should it have? Madam Clerk?
I will defer to Ms. Eckmister for the accounting side of what that dollar, if that dollar amount is needed in that contract.
And I don't have any knowledge of this, so I don't know. Maybe if we do something earlier.
They make a call.
I was gonna say, Mr. Ramirez is on the virtual side, so I don't know if he can log in and connect to us quick and give us that explanation. Looks like he's popping in right now.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
Right.
I don't have the exact dollar amount. It was turned in to Renee, but it is just over $21,000. It's an annual invoice that we present to you annually just to continue our services with Motorola through dispatch for our radios.
I think Renee's here right now.
I have the exact dollar amount, it's $21,653.33. I'm sorry, I wasn't included in the motion.
653.33. So as a friendly amendment, if that is agreeable, we can move to approve the invoice in the amount of $21,653.33 from Motorola Solutions for dispatch service in 2025 as presented by John Ramirez, dispatch director. If that is agreeable.
Agreeable. Agreeable.
Thank you.
So, any more discussion? We had that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Move on to number 5, district court, out-of-state travel request. Sheila Long, district court administrator.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners.
Good morning.
I am here this morning to ask permission for 2 of our employees to travel to an All Rise conference in Oklahoma City from March 18th to March 21st of 2025 for the treatment court coordinator training. We have had 1 court staff complete that training this year, and we would like to send our other 2 next year if the travel and expenses is approved by the Board of Commissioners. We would have to book the flights and pay the registration with the funds we have for our 2024 Unified Court budget. And then the expenses that would come during the training, such as lodging, travel, parking, and their meals would come from the training and travel budget for the Unified Court budget for 2025.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the out-of-state travel request received from Shelley Long, Court Administrator, for 2 court employees to travel to Oklahoma City for the treatment court coordinator training hosted by All Rise from March 18th, 2025 through March 21st, 2025. Funds are available through the 2024 Unified Court budget in the training line item for their flights, approximately $700 per person, and the registration fee $850 per person. Any additional expenses for parking, travel, lodging, and meals will be paid through the 2025 Unified Court budget in the training and travel line items.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Roots, to move to approve the out-of-state travel request received from Sheila Long, Court Administrator, for 2 court employees to travel to Oklahoma City for the treatment court coordinator training hosted by All Rise from March 18th, 2025 through March 21st, 2025. Funds are available through the 2024 Unified Court budget and the training line item for the flight, approximately $700 per person. And the registration fee, $850 per person. Any additional expenses for parking, travel, lodging, and meals will be paid through the 2025 Unified Court budget and training travel line items. That is the motion. Any more discussion, the question for Sheila? Here, none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to number 6. Change order for the People's State Bank. Mr. McMillan.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So in the People's State Bank, in the server room that will house Ian's servers, it was found that it has, when the sprinkler system was put in, water was put into that room as fire suppression, which we would not like water in that room with all the servers in there.
Good idea.
So in discussions with Boom and the architect and building codes will allow the water to be removed from from that room if there is another fire suppression system in that building or in that room. So this is the price that Vinegar Fire Protection gave Boom's Construction to put in a chemical-based system that won't hurt electronics. So this is what we're asking you to approve. This new system that will remove the water from that room and be a little better protection.
Any questions of Mike Administrator?
I do. Mr. Miller, wasn't this part of the RFP when we put this out, that the system be put into this room?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't understand why this is a change order. You and I both discussed with this architect that we wanted this. Why is it being changed now?
I would have to go back and look at the building documents to see what it actually calls for.
I'd like to look at that with you, because there's so many of these change orders that are happening. These are things that we requested to be added.
It's a pleasure to work.
I think it's a valid question, especially from the CIO, that is part and parcel to these discussions. I think this is what we call scope creep in the project management world, and apparently, as you just alluded, there's been other issues as well, so I think we'd be very cautious in proceeding with approvals unless you absolutely confirm that this is a necessary change outside the scope of the original discussions.
Well, I certainly don't want to delay the project, but I'm frustrated with,
Well, there's been a few change orders that were like, why wasn't that thought, that has to be thought of. He's an architect, you know what I'm saying? This would be one of them, especially in the computer, you know. I don't know, pleasure of the board, do you want to have Mike look at this? If we, hold on. Before we're back here.
So in the original plans, was it planned for water or chemical?
I don't know that at this point in time, I'd have to go back and review that.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Pleasure of the board, what do you think?
Well, wouldn't the scope of the original agreement include all the facets that we're talking about? I mean, otherwise, if it's not defined, it's open. I mean, so there has to be some reconciliation of progress against the actual items on this agreement. Is that not true? I mean, I don't know if we're doing that or not, but typically there's some reconciliation of that. I mean, that avoids it's a sort of check and balance of projects so that obviously the party is paying for it doesn't incur additional expense. I don't know the answer to these questions, but it was an interesting question you brought up.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and review the documents to see what is on the actual documents.
and regardless, this has to happen. We absolutely cannot have water in a data center. And that's been since day one. And Mike's known that, and I don't blame him for any of this. I think it's been an oversight by the architect, and the communication between him and the general contractor. I just want to see where we stand on it. So I wouldn't like to see this delayed. It has to happen regardless. But who's paying for it?
And also, I mean, there should be a deliverables. I mean, there should be a document that says, this is what we're going to do for you. This will be included. All right, so say it was water.
That was the bid for the RFP.
Correct. Say it was water. Is this the difference between water and chemical, or is this? I mean, is there a set here?
This is the bid to just install this system.
But prior to that, what was going to be installed until this change order?
There's two sprinkler heads for water.
But in this case, is it going to be water or chemical?
It counts,
Okay,
if we go with this system.
so obviously they had an allocated cost for the water. They did not, it was existing, something.
Well, yeah, I would assume that was included when they did
This
the
is
fire
the
truck.
chemical bid, what's the difference? In other words, are they charging the county for a full bid?
Well, there would be, the water would be pretty negligible because we're only talking maybe 10 feet of pipe, water pipe.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, asking the questions that anyone could probably ask that would be more familiar than I on the project management and deliverables and how they're being checked off of the time. So, you know, I understand what you're saying. What's your solution?
Well, so you said that we got it,
I don't have one. Well, the solution is it needs to be put in.
Please do.
but it needs to be looked at. I mean, if we make the motion today to have it done or whatever, it still needs to be looked at to see if it was in there, you know.
So could the motion be contingent upon some action of review and reconciliation?
My only concern that, I mean, we can definitely do something like that, but again, what Ian said is I don't want to delay this. I'm anticipating we'll be ready to move in next month. If we don't do this today and we wait 2 weeks, I don't know that we'll have a reconciliation in 2 weeks. So,
Well, I wasn't suggesting that you not go forward. I was just suggesting it would be contingent upon you going forward, but there needs to be a report back on more information about this particular situation.
yeah, definitely we'll do
Would you agree to that?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we could move forward and just have it come back the 23rd.
Fine, let's let us know what you've seen or what you found out, but just look at it, see if, you
So
know.
I think we should reword the proposed motion.
So it reflects this reoccurring or revisiting this for a particular reason. Just in case you have to go back and say, hey,
We'll look into it.
I'm kidding.
I don't see where we really need to change anything, because we're not saying contingency on if they're right or we're right, we're approving it, we're approving it. But we want you to dig into it, basically.
But Chairman, what about the money aspect of it?
Yeah, so I,
Well, they're gonna approve it.
We're gonna approve, okay. One way or the other, or just approve it.
So, again, just so clarity, I'm not sure what I'm hearing, I'll just reframe. It sounds like even though we're approving the 16,000, what is the purpose of coming back to explain something? Because the money will be spent. I was just asking at that particular time that there'd be a statement of, was it included in the original scope of the agreement? Was it part of the deliverable? Was it just water, now you want to change the scope? Why did the architect have the knowledge to think that an electronics road, we wouldn't use water? I mean, these are the questions that often we just get scope creep, we just keep paying, but this is just an example, having been a project manager for many years. I just picked up on this wee little statement, and obviously, it's up to you to make that determination, however.
Like I said, I'll go back and review the documents and I'll report back what we find.
Mr. Chair, a question.
Yeah.
We've already paid to have the first impression put in with the water, right?
Mhm.
So none of that gets paid to take it back out or not?
No.
They use the same equipment for the powder?
No, we're only talking, it's not a very large room, there's maybe 10 feet of pipe that they'll just remove and cap off and then install the system.
So this is an independent, like,
It's independent.
room.
Yeah, it would only be for this room.
Is the chemical hazard anybody that's in there?
What it does is it takes the air out of the room, so yes, you would want to be.
Yeah, you don't want to be in there. But there's gonna be a fire in there, so you're not gonna be in there anyway.
So we're not gonna be, you're not gonna be requesting it at some point, you know?
It is in the RFP that they do provide this.
Provide what does it say?
Shall provide one server room with 150 square feet of masonry constructed, a waterless fire suppression system using a minimum of
Okay.
FM 200 or Fairgrow products.
So it is in there.
Okay, that, yeah, put the light on now.
Yeah.
So we can go back to the architect and show him the proof that was in the RFP and then see how he'd like to handle it from there.
Were there any other instances like this in the past?
Yes, we just had, matter of fact, in Steve's area, there was supposed to be a sink installed. Matter of fact, the countertop already had the hole for the sink, but there was no sink. And I fought against that one because we definitely wanted a sink. It was something we bid. Architect thought that we should have to pay something towards it, and I told him we're not paying anything towards it. Because it was in the bid, and so we didn't pay for it. So now that that has been shown, then I would argue the same as we did the sink, that it was in the bid when the RFP was done. County shouldn't have to pay for this.
So next time you come to the board, would you check the RFP to make sure that
Hopefully there won't be any other change
Exercise.
orders.
from this point on, to double check before brought to the board for action, because this came very close to being funded?
Yes.
To share a question.
Yeah,
When this project's all done, does anybody go back and audit the expenses? This is what, you bid, this is what
I'm
you bid,
assuming the finance people audit the expenses. I don't,
our crew, I mean, our county.
I'm assuming, I don't know how that works, and how they audit.
I mean, is that something they actually do, to go back to see what you asked for, what you gave you?
Oh, that? Well, we'll do that in the walkthrough. There'll be 2 different walkthroughs that we do through the building to make sure that everything is completed.
So, Commissioner, if I could rephrase that, Clay, is there a point in time, the short time that you have, so to speak, that the board would be, receive a report of the cost overruns, in other words, change orders of the original proposal? Does anyone have a total of that?
Yeah, it's about $30,000, but I would like to say 90% of the change orders that we have done have been at the request of the county, not anything they have said we have to do.
So it's a minimal, at the request of the county.
Yes. This is, matter of fact, this is in change order number 14, but the sink would have been 1, so actually we're at 13 different change orders that we've had since the project started.
No further questions.
Okay, so I guess,
I have some language to propose that I've changed it a little bit because the motion is written that the county is going to be responsible for that $16,000 plus change order, so I reworded it a little, if I can just, and then we can work that.
you don't make a motion on it, we do it. If we're not gonna approve it, you.
Okay.
I think at this point we go back to the architect and the builder.
Okay, I just didn't want to have it delayed if you needed approval on the change.
No, because as we've found out, it was in the RFP, so it would be on them.
In other words, there is no change.
There is no change, except for what they did, so
Right.
unless you
It's
want
negligence
a
on their
motion
part.
to direct them to make the change. Or
No, I don't think that's necessary at this point.
okay, all right, so we will take no action.
Excuse me. It backs the credibility of the architect. This is, if the gentleman in the audience would look at his iPhone and bring this to the board in a snap moment, I would question their credibility. For
yes.
future, okay.
Yes, on this one, this was one that, like you said, the architect should know to put water and electronics.
Appreciate Ian for stepping in and bringing it up, saying.
Yeah, sorry, Mike, I mean,
That was discussed, I remember this one.
Yeah, so I'll, I guess on the 23rd, I'll let you know what the decision is.
Yeah,
If they're gonna,
to me, the
Minus
reason
or not.
was there.
yeah, well, I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
I understand.
Let you know when we find out. Thank you.
They have the equipment to install, right? For the 23rd, if we say.
They don't have it on hand, you know. I believe that the fire protection company has the equipment, but that's not like at the building right now.
It wouldn't delay us.
Well, I hope not, no.
So,
Anything else for them? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Move on to number 7. Request to use the courthouse steps.
Move to approve the request of Tuscola County Right to Life for the Fulton Annual Memorial Service on Sunday, January 19th, 2025 at 3 p.m. in front of the courthouse. Tuscola County Court.
support.
So moved by Commissioner Bartolozzi, supported by Commissioner Young to move to approve the request for Tuscola County Right to Life to hold its annual memorial service on Sunday, January 19th, 2025 at 3 p.m. in front of the Tuscola County Courthouse. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to number 8, the letter of resignation from William H., Assistant Prosecutor, Shelley Roots. Shelley, that's doctor's name, so she won't be doing it, but it's just a letter, I guess, for,
That for his resignation to be filed.
I move to accept the place on file the letter of resignation from William Hill, Assistant Prosecutor.
Support.
it's been moved by Commissioner Roots, supported by Commissioner Young to move to accept and place on file the letter of resignation from William Hill, Assistant Prosecutor. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. that takes us to the new business. We're not to, the budget hearing or closed session yet, so we want to continue on with
I
old
think we can
business.
go to old. I think we should pause on, obviously, the 2025 budget discussion and adoption plan for the public hearing. So I think that we could take care of number 3 and then the 4 and 5 maybe that was added.
Okay. Move on to number 3 under old business is, the potential appointment of Phil Fox to the Community Corrections Board.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the reappointment of Philip Phelps to the Community Correction Board per his request.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lutz, to move to approve the reappointment of Philip Fox to the Community Correction Board per his request. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do that. And number 4, to make a motion to rescind the offer for controller administrator. We checked legal on this and she said a motion to do it. She said there's really nothing that I don't know how we said because we haven't done that. But she said as long as it was brought up at the meeting before this meeting, that you're able to do it. All commissioners were present at that meeting when it was brought up. So if you want to move forward to that, we have a motion here that she said.
Chairman, I'd request a motion to rescind the previous resolution 2024-M-325 regarding Jody Holbrook being offered the controller administrator position, and to rescind any appointment offers made to Jody Holbrook pursuant to resolution 2024-M-325.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Garland, supported by Commissioner Young, to motion to rescind the previous resolution 2024-M-325 regarding Jody Holbrook being offered the control administrative position, and to rescind any employment offers made to Jody Holbrook pursuant to resolution 2024-M-325. Any more discussion on this? All, I think we should call it a roll call vote on.
I agree, Chairman. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Barba?
Yes.
Commissioner Lutz?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes,
Motion carries. Thank you for that.
we still have, but that was moving right on this morning. We have plenty of time left, so we can move on to number 5. I want to continue the discussion that I brought up at the last meeting about making Shelley Lutz interim administrator until we can get this position filled, or we said we're moving forward. I presented in front of everybody our legal opinion on it. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read it.
Chairman, I briefed it, and I think it's sufficient in order to position the board for any challenge that may result of it. If there ever was a challenge, I'm very pleased that you went forward and received an opinion. It does have some guidelines, which we had talked about earlier in the last meeting, that the board would follow, which is near the end of the page. In terms of abstaining from voting for issues related to appointment and things of that nature. But from a consideration of the position to support at the moment, there are not many options. So I certainly would support this as an interim at this point.
Mr. Chair, I ran into something similar, not to this scope, of course. When I was on the school board, my wife was a coach in the system. And like I said, it's not the same scope, but I just had to abstain. In fact, I think I voted against her being hired because I didn't want her to do it, but anyway.
You can't trust you on it.
But I agree with Commissioner Bardwell. I think, the attorney did a great job of doing this. And, I mean, let's face it, she's been doing a lot of this work for a long time already. And I think she's done a great job. And I think on an interim basis, because I don't think she wants it full time. So I think it would really help us out the next.
And my whole thought behind this whole thing when I put this together is, right now, we gotta get some kind of stability back in that office, where everybody knows their job titles and what their responsibility is. Because right now, it's been kind of all hands on deck. Oh, hey, we gotta do this, you do that, we gotta do this, you know. So that was my whole thing. That way, it would get some stability back in there, where everybody knows what they're responsible for doing until we can continue with our control administrative search. With that being said, too, I want to bring up two, step up pay in this position, okay? We're not really, nobody's really stepped up to do the job on each other, not stepped up to do control administrative job. So it's hard to judge this, but I know they have talked to us about splitting some duties, because this is quite a feat. Maybe I'll actually touch on this a little bit, because I was trying to add all this in here together.
Well, I was trying to look at what it would look like, and, you know, I've been looking at the board rules and looking at the nepotism and fraternization policy and then the acting position pay. This is kind of a different situation because it's not really, you know, it's spelled in our policy about, you know, actually doing the job. We have the job that's getting split right now. So I kind of envision you take controller administrator salary, where it was, you split it in half, because now you've got, part of that you're using for Plant Moran that's coming in, so you're doing the controller aspect of that. And they're moving along pretty good on that too, by the way. And then you'll have, hopefully, Shelley stepping up to be more administration, keeping things in line, you know, directing the department to have some things that are going on, try to get some kind of direction, as she has been doing anyways, trying to keep, you know, peace in the valley, so to speak, in a chaotic time right now. So I thought maybe you want to look at, you take, you know, instead of a full step up, she's still got duties and assignments that she has to take care of as the HR director. So you have to look at some of that job getting bumped to someone else. So you have like a little domino effect going on. So you have to let go of something so she can assume some of the administrative functions. And it's quite a demanding job, very stressful. There's a lot going on. So maybe when you're looking at some sort of compensation, that's how I kind of took it. You split it in half. You got one chunk of money that you're looking at, and then out of that chunk of money, you take, again, you split it down further, like you would do similar to an acting position. They get a, you know, percent or a volume of that pay. So if you do it that way, she's a salary employee. It might give you a dollar amount threshold to get, you know, give her a stipend during this process until you get someone settled in. But then again, with that duty and performance roll-off, it can fall on someone else. You got to look at, you know, furthering that stipend on down the line as well. If they're doing something out of their scope. And again, it's going to take, you know, it is going to take looking at the office on the whole, who's doing what, and how can we define the roles and responsibilities, you know, even moving forward. So there's a domino effect that's going to be happening because of this. And I think that's where I was at when I was trying to think through the process of who's taking on, you know, percent of functions, what's that dollar amount going to look like? Because I think, you know, obviously, it's a lot more for her to take on. She has been taking it on as weeks. And to come up with some kind of compensation until things calm down around here. And sometimes it comes to the point to where, you know, and she's even said it's not about the money, the job's got to get done. You know, but what's fair on the individual, on how much work you can pile on somebody before you get to a point to where potentially losing, you know, good employees because so much has been piled on in that office, and it has to continue. And if those things don't get, there's certain things that just don't get done, it affects the county as a whole. Your controller administrator's office, think about it, your finance, your federal compliance, it's your state compliance. It's making sure employees are, every employee in the county as well as working with other, not out, departments outside of us. You're working with the road commission, you're working with the medical care facility. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts in there. So I think the commissioners need to seriously consider that when we're looking at this. The money that you're not paying out to a controller or administrator, use that money to make things right for the people that have stepped up to the plate.
Sure.
That looks like I'm not sure, but, that's the census that I'm thinking.
But
You brought up an interesting thought. As you redistribute tasks or responsibilities within your office, something Jamie didn't cover, you covered the legal end of it in terms of the nepotism. But the area that's probably most important to the employees is that whoever is responsible for HR, which cannot be the administrator, should be, and theoretically, from an operational standpoint, because HR serves as an independent function that represents the employees, and they have to have that trust and confidence in the individual. It has to be a separate entity name. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. That's one of the areas that, as you were discussing, I thought, interesting enough, that wasn't covered. That's going to be very germane, because those who are the employees, if they have an issue, the administrator has a role in that, but a different role, and someone's got to represent the employee. So I hopefully you have that, you'll walk yourselves through that. The other aspect, even though we look at adjusting the compensation for this particular position, as you redistribute responsibilities, how do you explain that those who gain more responsibilities don't also be entitled to an adjustment?
They should, and that's basically what I was saying, if you calculate that on a percent scale. And if someone's taking on something that they've never done before to accommodate, so our interim administrator / HR director can perform some of those duties, then you've got that compensation that's gonna have to be. It's almost like you almost have to go to the whole office and do a, reconstruction, so to speak, if you can, or if you do have one that's gonna pick up, a percentage of the work, or how do you redistribute that work? And look at job descriptions, and that's something that I did, and I left with Neil before I left, was these are the job descriptions, what everybody's doing. But again, sometimes, it's in the chaos that some people are doing stuff that's maybe not in their job descriptions, out of their scopes. In a sense, it's good. We cross-trained and learned some new things, including me entering some payroll stuff. So, but you just do what you gotta do. It's all hands on deck sometimes. But I think it's important that we do have scopes on the positions that we have, because they are very specific on certain functions. But at the same time, now they're taking that, plus they might say, well, give me this, I'll take on that process, even if it's temporary. It's frustrating too, so it's always good to learn more, but it's not fair to constantly keep piling on more and more work in one position too.
So that's going to be part of the proposal. And would you also include, I sense that short of anybody resigning or getting a better job somewhere, you do have retirement after the first year. Of course, you won't be here.
Yeah, I won't be here, so.
Your thoughts on how that should be orchestrated, because that takes another key player. If nothing changes.
Well,
for that department.
I think Plant Moran's gonna do an excellent job. As you see, I prepared a must-haves and immediate things, stuff that they have to work on. So I think in that arena, having them, the board has decided to hire them on as the controller function. I think it'll be in good hands. We do have a new auditing team coming in as well, and they've been working, and they will work hand in hand. The two firms know of each other. Seems like there's a good camaraderie there as well. But you've gotta keep the rest of the stuff that seems to be kind of, falling apart a little bit. The administrator does oversee several departments. Those departments still need someone to come to solve, problems, as well as maybe, there's gonna be times where they have to sit down and settle issues, before they make it to this board. So there's a lot of working pieces in that administrative function. Like I said, it's probably about 50-50 when you're dealing with administrative stuff as well as finance stuff. So if we can get that administrative stuff cleaned up and having somebody take charge, and I do believe Ms. Lutz is a good person to take the lead because she's had to already, plus in her role as an HR director, knows how to make, confidential, communications and keep that separate from the other functions that may come up. So you do have to kind of draw a line and work on this section while you take care of this section and then report the stuff to the commissioners as needed. And as an administrator, I always made sure I stayed out of my lane as the HR director, because the HR director does have things that she has to take care of privately and confidentially, and she's done really well with that. So it's gonna be a juggle, but I think she would be an excellent person to do that, to get you through this time.
Mr. Chair, just one question.
Yeah.
Is this something that we could approve today, but then approve like Clayette said?
Come back,
Based,
23rd,
yeah,
right down.
how that works through the whole department.
Maybe sit down with the
With
finance
every-
commissioners and, kind of hash it out, and see what your thoughts are too on paper.
Right.
Look at the budget, look at the numbers, look at the
Well, just-
scope.
Just as one person on the finance, I think, and Commissioner Bardwell agreed, disagree with me. I mean, I think if you took the whole salary that we would be paying, and then, I don't know if we're talking 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we don't know. And then, I guess give you that kind of a guideline. Does that make sense, Commissioner Bardwell?
For the administrator,
Yeah, well, for the whole department, I guess.
that's what I was considering.
Yeah.
The whole department needs to be part and parcel.
Right.
That there would be a plan, if that's what you're
Yeah.
framing in.
Well, and then also we have to work in the cost of your pay type rate.
Correct.
So that's why I thought, well, split it
So-
50/50 and see what that.
Right.
So,
And I really haven't studied on what you're gonna be paying like rate, how much time you're gonna spend here. But I know at the beginning, they're gonna be spending a lot of time here.
Right.
It's your year end, hopefully everything's pretty much caught up to speed, but things happen, we're accruing, there's gonna be, stuff that's gonna come before you early January potentially. But after that, I suspect once we get, year end stuff done, audit stuff done, which is the end of February, and start cutting out stuff like that. If you don't have anybody in play by then, the time that we need them in-house to do certain accounting functions should level off quite a bit.
so what we're hearing in Trevor from Law, we can go forward and make her the interim administrator today. From now to our next meeting, you maybe with the finance chair's help, sit down, talk about duties and scopes and whatever, then you bring it back to the board on the next meeting. And we, that way, everybody's on the same page, and we know everybody's getting fair with, what we're doing. And we can set it, and we can go retroactive to back to, day, whatever, we made the motion, Sound good?
Do you, Madam Clerk, are you working on a motion or no?
I am not.
Okay, is that something you could forward this?
Sure.
Sorry, I caught you off guard. I saw you writing that in, I wasn't sure.
Well, so what are you exactly looking for
I guess a
in
motion
this motion?
to put Shelley Luce interim administrator, something.
Effective with the date.
Interim administrator.
Yeah,
Yes.
interim, temporary, interim.
And should we put in there something about paid to be determined? That be, I mean, I know that's kind of vague, but
Yeah, well, say, Marco.
I mean, unless you can do that today, but you're not gonna be able to do that today. It would have to be a TBD, and it would have to be resolved on the, whatever the next meeting is, the 23rd.
I
And,
think it would be cleaner if we could pay as a discussion on the 23rd, because then you can bring that back.
Okay.
Because at this point, you don't know if there will be additional pay, and if there will, what that amount will be. So I
so
think,
don't put anything in it.
I wouldn't at this
Okay.
point, I just think that it should be a separate matter that we can add to the 23rd's agenda, and I can place that in the minutes of that discussion be added there.
And that makes sense too, in line of what we're, she's probably not the only one that's gonna get more money. Does that make
Because
sense?
you don't know, you know, whatever her current pay is, she's going to be giving duties up
Correct.
to take duties
Correct.
on.
Right.
So I think that you have to also
That's why I said,
consider
we're
that
Right.
before she
she's,
goes through all that.
how many more extra duties is she technically taking on, even though it probably would not be considered a lateral move? But it's not that she's doing her current job plus additional duties.
Right.
She's giving duties up.
She gives some,
Yes.
what she can, there's a lot of that, you can't get to that, there's just too much there to schedule.
But that's what you don't know at
You
this
don't
point.
know,
So
right, that's where the discussion.
I think it would be cleaner to leave the pay
Okay.
portion
I just-
off at this point.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
And what date are you looking for that to be effective? Today?
Today,
I don't know. Commissioner Broadwell?
pleasure of the board. I'm not sure what that, in Kuwait, I'm not sure what that means to you. Is it one time better than another, or?
I think she's already been doing it. So,
Right.
I mean,
It's just making it
it's
efficient.
been happening already, so.
Right.
So,
I guess that's why I said today, in my opinion.
Maybe we should make this retroactive once we really started doing this.
that's stuff that I think that finance chair, so we should always talk about every night. That can all be part of the discussion.
But I don't know if you can retro back to the time before you're appointing today, and you want to retro back 2 weeks ago, that she was appointed at.
Right.
So if you appoint today, then the pay would be effective today, even though you may not make a
But we can make it,
decision.
we can make a motion to that effect, could we, Glenn, when we get paid, to make it,
Well, I'm looking at the clerk, because if you're appointing as of today, to me, you don't
The
go
pay
back
would
beyond this date
begin,
for the pay.
the pay would begin the effective date. I do
Yeah.
agree.
I would agree, or I would say that if we want to, which I think we should, give her some monetary for what she has been doing, that would be just discussed at the finance from today going forward, taking that into consideration.
could we put the date, December 1st? Just throw the date out there, the 1st of December.
so you're talking about retroactive now to,
If we have to have, I guess, a date, I guess, when she might have started doing these duties. If we ever want to go retroactive, at least, leaves us a chance to do that if we wish to go on retroactive.
it'd almost be cleaner if it started, the board makes a motion effective today versus
Yeah.
looking back.
I think so too.
I mean, that's realistically, I didn't know, I thought you were still doing it
Oh,
as
no,
a woman. But, I mean, that's what I would suggest.
Okay, listen.
And like I said, I mean, and I'm just throw out a number, and I'm not going to, but if this was what we come up with for her and the other ladies that we're gonna, or the people in the department, then we say, well, she did it for a couple of weeks before then we could adjust it accordingly, couldn't we?
I think that gets,
Okay, maybe not.
Let's start
I
it today.
think that's, may set precedent
Okay.
that you may not want to,
Okay,
deal with.
let's just do it effective
Because
today.
I think every department falls into shortfalls.
Right.
And, every department has employees that steps up and covers those shortfalls. And if you set that precedent that it's potentially set future precedent.
Okay.
Let's just do it today, but
Yeah.
if we can do a motion, then we can get it.
So I have something just simply written, move to appoint Shelley Lutz interim county administrator effective December 12th, 2024. I don't know that we need to add anything to that regarding
Okay.
responsibilities at this point until the 23rd.
We'll put it on the agenda for 23rd.
I'll hand that to, if you can hand that to Commissioner Cook. And Commissioner Barlow, if I can have the motion regarding the rescinding that, yeah, if I can take that
I
back
think,
when,
Chairman has it.
or if Chairman has it, I'll take that back.
Somewhere.
Somewhere, as long as I get that today, we're good.
Yeah.
Just get that. put it in minutes.
Yeah,
Yellow envelope.
Somewhere, I got it.
Is
I'll
that
get,
it?
I'll take it before you leave.
That's what I said, I thought that was it.
Okay.
Both of them.
Yeah, I'll-
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Shelley Lutz interim county administrator effective December 12th, 2024.
Support.
The move by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Young, to move to make Shelley Lutz interim temporary administrator effective December 12th, 2024.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain from this.
We're gonna do a
Let's
roll
do
call
it.
vote, and so then you can do that at that time,
Okay.
Commissioner, or Commissioner Wood.
Thanks.
Yep,
Discussion?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Cliff, you know, that happens today. Who's gonna take over HR to regain that function of employee confidentiality?
She'll have to do a dual role, she'll continue to do that. She'll need to continue to do that, and I think she's more than capable of doing that.
Well, there's no doubt about the capability. My concern is that it's a distinct, different role that should be segregated separately, because the fact is that you're acting as administrator and HR, which depending on the employee issue could be, just, and I'm not aware of that, but that's the issue I raised earlier, the sensitivity of that.
And I know that some of them duties, that she's going to give up, is, you know, she's going to give to Angie, so maybe Angie steps on that role a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because that's who's going to step up, to take some of the duties off the plate. So maybe she steps up and does some of that role. Roll call vote, please.
if you're ready to proceed.
I think we are.
Thank you, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Barlow,
Yes,
Commissioner Lutz,
Abstain.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay, at this time, we're gonna recess the committee, the board of commissioner meeting, and, go into our budget public hearing. Do we have to take a vote or anything to recess and go?
No.
No, so. Committee meeting, and now we open up public hearing.
And roll call,
Oh, sorry. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Here.
Commissioner Barlow,
here,
Commissioner Vaughn,
Here.
Commissioner Lutz,
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
You have a quorum, you may proceed with your public hearing.
Thank you.
And as a, you do have some potential motions regarding any matters that may come out of the public hearing. As a reminder, in a public hearing, as the board, you cannot make motions during the public hearing. So as we move forward and the matters are presented and discussed amongst you and any public comment, the motions will not be made until you go back to the board, the regular board meeting.
So these motions on this are gonna be made.
Cannot be made during the public hearing.
Thank
Or
you.
just so that you can see what would be made if you were to go in there, and then we'll use them in the regular.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we just open the public hearing up for public comment?
I would open initial public comment, and then you will have also an opportunity for an additional public comment after the presentation. So you'll have 2 public comment periods during this public hearing.
Okay, so,
Chairman, if I may,
yes.
perhaps there's public comment, but normally, don't we do a brief overview, high-level review of the budget?
Yeah, that comes after a public comment section, and we'll kind of go over
All
some
right.
changes, and then I have more, and then the overview, and then we'll go, once this is adjourned, we'll get a little bit deeper into the board review, if there's any actions to be taken.
That's not on the agenda anymore, is it?
On the agenda is, just budget overviews, so I have 3 items.
All right, I thought maybe I missed something on the order of proceeding. Proceed.
We were, contacted by anybody individually that wanted to be added to the agenda at all.
You said you weren't.
We were not.
Open for public comment? There was comment on the budget? Anybody want to comment on the budget? Now, I hear anybody want to comment on the budget yet so far, so we'll continue to go through, let you guys go through, we'll have another public comment after the review.
So I have a couple items that actually need to get corrected on the 25 budget. This, working with the departments, we sent the budget out to the departments for review. We did find in the general fund, it's City of Carroll assessment contract, the payroll that merges over at budget time missed the additional money that was approved by the commissioners in the previous year. So the City of Carroll contract versus what we're paying, to have the assessments done was missing quite a bit, as you can see. If you look at page 3, the proposed final budget was still at $8,282. It was missing the pay at this point in time, should have been $10,000 more on that contract. So due to an error, the payroll merging into the budget process, this is what the budget should have been that we presented. So I'm asking the commissioners to consider this, obviously to get it updated. If you look at our 24 amended budget, it's very similar. That's the payment where it was set at, it was 15,000. And then the budget this year merged over at 5,000. So we are working on trying to figure out why that didn't come into the import from the payroll when we're working on the 25 budget. So this is one, we have 2 that I need to talk about today, but this is the first one. So I'm requesting to make sure that this is included in your 25 budget because it's what should have been there from the get-go.
And is that in page 16 of the budget book that Debbie handed out? Would that be the correct location for the 227 City of Carroll assessment contract?
What page number did you say?
I have 16 of the budget book.
Yes, that's correct. Page 16 of the budget book, Department 227.
So the middle and the last column should both be at 15,000 as it was in 2024.
Well, the first draft budget, it was presented that way, so that has to stay that way. But I proposed final budget in the right-hand column should be 19,009. So what that means is there's a budget amendment. Well, it's not really a budget amendment because it's a proposed action at this time. that we're gonna increase that budget by $10,727. So the budget should read $19,009
In the bottom line.
in the bottom line for the City of Carroll assessment,
And that number again is, I'm sorry.
19,009.
And so the line item that changes then is the salaries permanent.
It's in the packet, I've shown a chart on all the line items that's changing. So on page 3 of your agenda, it shows exactly each line item that's going to be changing, and it does affect all of them.
I can put that. Thank you very much for that. And that's page 3 of your public hearing. Thank you, that I can reference that.
Does the board have any questions on that? The next item was a little bit similar. We were looking at it was a payroll import issue. It looks a little bit different, but it's in page 4 of your packet. I take that back, that's more detail on the department 101227. Doesn't look like the attachment for the GIS, is it here? There it is. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, page 5, yep, losing the place here, right? Page 5 is my next item that needs to get corrected before you adopt this budget, and that was the GIS fund. What we found there is the payroll import did not take into consideration that GIS director has a step-up pay. So it's not that much of an increase, but the step-up pay should be worked in there, as well as the changes to the GIS sales and the Fetch online user fees. With the board action, that being taken, the 25 budget needed to get corrected. We fixed the 24 budget, but the 25 budget was a continuation of business as usual. So what that means, if you look at page 5 of your packet, I broke down exactly what needs to be changed. And your revenues for the GIS fund will be decreased by 5,000, and your expenditure will increase by 1,738 to accommodate the step-up pay, not step-up pay, his next step on his pay scale. And there's sufficient money in there to do it. There's no general funds are needed for any of that to happen or in that fund. So those are the 2 items that I would like the commissioners to change before you adopt the budget. And other than that, I didn't hear from anybody else on other items. So with those 2 changes, that's all I have.
And so in the agenda packet, it appears that at page 5 will be a replacement to page 47 in the budget book.
That's correct.
Okay. And then will the budget book be reprinted so I can have a final copy upon the board adopting it?
We
To
just
show
show that
those corrections?
Yeah, because before we adopt, before we push the button, we have to make these changes in the system.
I think just because that becomes retained as a permanent record, so.
And then we'll post it on their website too, as the final.
Yeah.
adjusted
Okay,
budget numbers.
perfect.
I don't know if it'd be all, laid out in the book, but this will be updated, printed, and published, obviously, on their website.
And I don't need a binded copy, just a staple copy is good for me.
Sounds good.
Prefer it, easier to stuff.
Along with it, the commissioners made any other changes today to the budget.
Correct.
So that's what we're looking for during this public hearing.
Thank you.
Any conversation with the commissioners? Once presenting the budget?
Just a quick question, the date of the budget book is what? What's the date you have it?
The book is 12, today's date. It's the proposed budget dated December 12th.
Interesting, huh?
You don't have that one?
And fifth? No, I was looking at what we followed along, but this. Yeah, no, it looks, should look like this, but,
On the bottom right corner is December 12th.
yeah, this is a little bit. Somehow, it's been. Do you have an extra copy of something?
Yeah, we thought that one should
Commissioner
have
Darden.
been in your basket, but
Is that your copy?
I didn't know if you wanted to look at it now,
Oh,
sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you would like it returned?
Please. I just wanted to reference, sorry.
The guy didn't have any copies, he's got more goddamn copies than you don't do.
there should be one in your box. But
Thank you.
Okay, you know, I'm just,
I don't have one either, do you?
Finance.
Well, we got one, we got this last week.
I know, it was on the desk.
I would check with you.
Just a minor issue.
we'll make sure you get it on.
I got, Mr. Young just donated his.
He's the chair of the finance. You need that.
In fact, that was in the box.
So page 47 with the GIS, that's the before. And what's in your packet today is going to be the proposed after. And then on page 16 is the city of Carroll, the way it looks. And then your packet today shows you how it should look in the 11227.
Okay.
The last little bit I have is the total kind of review, that's on your page 6 of the packet, the public hearing. Just want to kind of scroll through on where we were at, what got presented initially. Of course, early on, Mr. Zapp, the mosquito abatement director, presented some, the $36,000 in cost. That was originally in his budget. We felt that he wanted to involve some new technology coming in. So that was included in his first budget. There was no need to add it, or you guys never took it away, so it was just a continuation. The prosecutor position, the board approved on November 25th. So we did work that into the budget. That was $105,001. We did use general fund balance to achieve that. Also, the GIS director and county treasurer discussed the changes made between the general funds, the GIS funds, and the tax foreclosure fund that we did approve on November 14th. Those items have been included into this budget. The board also approved the equipment tech and capital request from Director Miller and the CIO Ian Lee. Those have been included in the budget, $130,000 for the equipment tech fund and $113,000 for the equipment capital fund. Other changes that were worked in and corrections that we found along the way in discussions of preparing the budget was some revenue line items that need to get adjusted that were identified by the county treasurer. The additional $100,000 appropriation that was needed in the 288 fund in order to keep that out of a deficit budget type situation. Again, that was general fund balance being used for that. There were corrections to health insurance line items, which actually that the treasurer found in the shifting of employees between one fund and the other. That saved a little bit of money in the general fund and pushed that cost back over to the foreclosure fund. There was the deputy friend of the court and the magistrate backup pay. Again, that was a payroll import issues, it was off $626. So we had to decrease the front of the court, 626, and increase the general fund by that 600. Correct that. The transfer in revolving fund that we normally get every year had to be decreased based on the treasurer's assumptions on what the income's actually going to be in there. Board has policy, whatever the income is, and that 626 delinquent tax revolving fund gets transferred to the general fund every year. So we're going to experience a little bit less money in 25 based on that. And then the other changes that we just discussed, which is the 10,727 in the City of Carroll contract line item that we pay for the assessing services, and then that pay goes to the employee providing these functions, and then also to the GIS fund, the corrections that were due to the payroll import. And so with all of those changes, that's where we're at this point in time, moving forward. It did show and reflect with you guys making those decisions on those board actions, use of fund balance of $652,000. Remember early on, the initial use of fund balance was well into the million, close to $2 million. So you have trimmed it and cleaned things up and using, which I applaud you for using less of that fund balance and hanging on to it a little bit longer. One thing to keep in mind, this is the first time in a while that you have a zero contingency. So anything that happens in 25 that goes above and beyond where you're at right now, that means you're going to be utilizing the fund balance to make that happen. I could put you off with a contingency, but it's the same thing, you're using fund balance to create a contingency. So, buckle down the hatches and hopefully you get through 25 on what you planned on doing. And nothing big happens throughout the year that's going to make you use more of that money in your budget. So it's going to be a tight year, but I think you guys can do it.
Sure, I have a question.
Yeah.
If that's 25, has any of your projections changed for 26 or 27 related to significant deficit?
I was going to look at them again after I swept through the year end. Changed just a little bit, but not significant. So I want to, make sure one more time before I leave, I will update those numbers one more time and also provide that data that I have. Debbie has access to it as well. We keep all that information in S drive. So I'll make sure that even type brand. That's one of the things I asked them to do as they're presenting to you what's going on, kind of keep those projections and trends going for you a little bit as you progress, at least into, February, March of 25.
But your first promise, the 2.2 million is not going to go away.
No, it may fluctuate, and again, I always say, if there's a big project coming down the pipe, so it's nothing solid yet, it might change that. All pennies are coming, so fingers crossed that you can things can stay on track and nice and steady, and just kind of hold tight for a while.
So, at what point in 2026 will you know what the Blue Cross is going to be? How will you just put a number in there?
Well, look at 25, how late in the game this is coming down the pipe. I've talked to other county administrators, and they said that we did fairly well compared to what they're facing. So, I think even Lapeer County, when he was here, he goes, he had mentioned that we did pretty well compared to what they're facing. So, even as bad as it is for us,
So what month of the year do you find out the Blue Cross is going to be? The August?
It seems like it's running a little bit later each year. And again, quarterly we get reports on the spending, and that's what had happened. So we set the budget for 24, and when I left here, the budget was rolling along pretty good. But then claims go up, we're self-funded. That monthly fee we were hitting everybody's budget with, all of a sudden started skyrocketing. So when I came and seen all the budgets blown, I'm like, what's going on? That's when we realized, the claims are up that high, and when they take those hits, that you gotta pay them. So
So the reason I ask, and I'll just end with this, is that if you take that 2.2 and knock it out over 12 months, that's over 170,000 you've used on Holland. And that's gonna hit next July and up we start the budget. I mean, something's gotta change. You talk about pennies from heaven. There's not a lot of time for that to happen. So from the board's perspective, that is a significant amount to get to that 2.2. And if you look at further those projections, it just continues to climb. That has me very concerned in terms of financial viability and concerned with the transition of plant land and understanding. Perhaps they could create a dashboard that would be easier for the commissioners at the board level to understand the avenues that to the rise of their farm, the key indicators. Otherwise, I don't think we have that continuity that we have with what you have, like you, from my call that we've had in the past. We're distancing ourselves. That's a major concern. I have to share that. Let's share with all commissioners.
The continuity is a big concern. That's why I must have last meeting, but being with, with that finance chair, make sure you contact, we need some continuity.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the number one thing is to make sure that Tuscarora County is compliant and the numbers are in order. And when we hand that over, to Anna Costerson, that they have solid numbers to audit us on. And, now there's some audit comments that, things that needed to get changed. Of course, I'm addressing that with them right away. Those things should have been addressed by 6 months ago, and they weren't. So maybe there's a way that, some extensions could happen with, Michigan Department of Treasury on some of this stuff, because they didn't get fixed. And I don't know if they can be fixed in a short period of time. So they're be prepared, we have some audit comments and stuff. Again, some, audit comments on, compliance with the chair of accounts and a couple other items. Because, when you read our audit, we got a good clean audit. And even the new auditors were confused and decided it didn't have any, but then it followed up with a page where there was like 3 or 4 comments now. So maybe they're not as crucial, but a comment's a comment, and something has to be addressed and taken care of.
Okay. Any more from the board? We'll go back into public comment again. Everybody, we got additional public comments. Somebody wants to address the board on what they just heard or anything? Yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Board. I was waiting to the second public comments. I didn't know if this was going to be discussed or not, but in reviewing the budget book, there seems to be a discrepancy in the clerk, treasurer, and drain salary in comparison to the register of deeds salary. So this would be beginning on page 15 of the budget book. So the clerk, treasurer, and drain salary is listed as $73,487. The register of deeds salary is listed as $74,913. Back in 2020, for those of you that were sitting then, you may recall that the treasurer and myself came to you to request a salary increase due to the legislative changes and the additional responsibilities being put on our office mandated by law. And we were denied that raise increase, but instead the board felt that it was proper for those 4 elected officials' salary to be made the same. And the register of deeds and the drain commissioner at that time was brought up to match the clerk and the treasurer. So I feel with this discrepancy, we're now not being made whole and being made to be equal, as was the intent in 2020.
You said page 16?
The clerk's salary is listed on page 15.
Correct.
It'd be Department 101-215. The register of deeds is on page 16, 101-236. The treasurer is on page 17, 101,253, and the drain commissioner is on page 18, 101,275. So I didn't know what the reason for the disparity was.
Because you made reference to registered deeds at 74,913.
Register of deeds going into 25 is 74,913.
And the clerk is correct, they should all be equal, they should be the same.
That was the intent in 2020.
So this could be another import issue like the other two that was brought to our attention previously to the meeting, so we can get it corrected. So,
I apologize, I didn't see that
yeah,
until late review.
I mean, obviously, it's probably the payroll is correct, it's the import that shifts something else over in there, I can't identify that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that we're having so many import problems, because if we're having import problems that we know about, is there potentially import problems that we don't know about?
Well-
Similar to the discussion with, an RFP and, are there other issues that we have not been addressed or known about?
So if I can follow up on that.
Sure.
So, when it was on paper and we verified it with payroll was correct. What Brad threw it into the system, which is another part of the software, was incorrect. So the pays are gonna be okay, but yet the import is grabbing the data and putting it over into our software to create a budget. That's where we found discrepancy. So the pay would have been the same, but if you're adopting the budget with this, we wanna make sure it's correct.
Right, so,
So, yeah, I wish we could have caught that one earlier
Sure.
too.
So they all should be 73,487, is that what we're getting at?
Correct? Yeah, they should be. And the clerk is right, only the registered deeds ones is different, they're all the other ones are silent. So I don't know what else could have gotten in there that carried it over.
so we have to put that to a motion to come out of this to change that to that, or what we got?
Yeah, but what that's gonna do is your general appropriations act that has a number tied to it, and I kind of adjusted it with the items that I knew about today. That number's gonna have to change, so we may have to take a little break, so I can recalculate that number. So when you adopt,
Yeah.
that's
Just
the
gotta have
number,
that in.
I wanna make sure.
Okay.
But, it's gonna be hard because we don't have our HR director here today to recalculate this. We could take it at least off the salary line item, and then, the budget will maybe be a little bit higher, and the other items with payroll not touching it, obviously, throughout the year, so. That might be a way to whether, like, the line item might be a little bit more, however it's split out, but at least with that salary line item, so where it says a solid number. So it'll be reducing the overall budget itself.
Okay.
Quick question, Shirley. So we have this transfer problem on order 12.
And you got,
Where is BSNA's office?
the SNA have been contacted, and I know that our HR directors work with them on a lot of things. There's coding that's gonna have to get done internally to maybe fix some of these issues. Some of them, they don't understand why it happened. There's no reason for it happening. Payroll says one thing, we grab it from payroll, throw it in the budget. Other than, every single line item needs to be verified and checked a little bit closer. And they pull up payroll itself versus the import.
That's a hanging cliff.
That's why we rely on those department heads to really look at their budgets, and if they come up with something that says this isn't right, what's going on? All eyes have to be on some of this stuff.
And my only concern is, was there other things potentially missed?
I hope that, and we've gone through this.
I just feel
budget.
that, and as you can recall, we've had this issue with BSNA during the budget cycle. This isn't the first year.
Yeah, we've had like spreadsheets in the past, and those spreadsheets were much better. They were formula driven, it was all by hand. You always think there's room for error, because you're, entering numbers here and there. But we had a lot less errors with that. next meeting.
Okay. Any more public comment? Anybody else wants to address the board? Anybody else virtual wants to address the board on the budget review? Okay. Let the record show that additional public comment was offered. We did have one. We appreciate that too, Madam Clerk. Bring that to our
Thank you
attention.
for addressing that.
And, with that, I think I can take a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll make that.
Support.
The move by Commissioner, support by Commissioner Cook to adjourn the public hearing. This is a roll call vote. On this here to adjourn this or just,
No, this is voice vote will be perfect.
any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is adjourned. With that, I want to say that we're going to recess for the Board of Commissioners meeting. We are now back in session for the Board of Commissioners meeting. Well, some of the stuff that you want to wait a little bit, you have to do some just before we go into.
Yeah, if we could maybe take a little bit of a break, we're gonna recalculate the error that was found in the registered salary. I'd like to get that number solid, so I can give you your numbers now. Obviously, it's a factor that we're gonna use less fund balance, you know,
Right.
yeah. Maybe not even $1,000. But I wanna update your all fund sheet, or at least I will.
So you want
Number.
to do that now before we go into closed
Yes.
session then? Before-
Well, I don't show that Clan is attending closed session.
Yeah, I don't
know.
have to be in closed session,
So if we go into closed session, that would give you,
I can go work on this while you guys are in closed session.
that's just a thought, whatever your.
Is anybody okay? Does anybody need to take a break for 10 minutes or so? Or would
I'm gonna take a break.
you'd like to take a break just to, before we go into closed session?
I had to come back and get you, now you wanna take a break.
Well, let's go to the 10-minute recess, then we can get back here, we'll go into closed session, we'll get back.
All
Okay.
these poor people were here.
How's it going?
I think I'll make it.
I had nothing to do with that, by the way.
That's why the dog-
Oh, there you go.
That, and so that was
Welcome back, everybody. We're at short recess for the board commission meeting this morning. And at this time, we got a closed session scheduled. So we'll take a motion to move into closed session.
Make a motion, go into closed session. Sorry.
Number 10 on your motion sheet, Commissioner Cook.
I move that the Board of Commissioners meet in closed session under Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal state statute specifically. Records and information of measures desired to protect the security and safety of county employees, officials, and visitors, as well as county property which are exempt from public disclosure under Section 13Y of the Freedom of Information Act. Also, Jody Fetting or designee, Ian Lee, Jody Grant, Mike Miller, Tom McLean, Ashley Bennett, Marion Brandt, Angie Daniels, Cody Horton, Bob Montai, Dara Hood, Steve Anderson, and Shelley Lutz are authorized to attend. Roll call vote.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lutz, to move that the board of commissioners meet in closed session under Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by the state or federal statute, specifically records and information of measures desired to protect the security and safety of county employees, officials, and visitors, as well as county property, which are exempt from public disclosure under Section 13Y of the Freedom of Information Act. Also, Jody Fetting or designee Lee, Jody Grant, Mike Miller, Tom McLean, Ashley Bennett, Marion Brandt, Angie Daniels, Cody Horton, Bob Montai, Dara Hood, Steve Anderson, Shelley Lutz are all authorized to attend, and we'll do it by roll call vote.
And I'm just going to add at 9:48 a.m. at the end of that
Okay.
motion, if that is okay, Commissioner Cook and Commissioner Lutz.
Yes.
Thank you. And we'll proceed with the roll call vote. Commissioner Barba,
Yes.
Commissioner Lutz,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Yes.
That motion carries. We can go into closed session now.
Well, I just thought we'd pick up, I thought we'd come to the building.
We just got out of closed session, we're now back in the board of commissioners meeting again. And, we're gonna pick up where we started off on their old business, we finished, the public, and so we'll go back into the budget discussion. Number one on their old business. So today you need the, one and two motions plus this one?
Yes, because those are items that were discussed during the public hearing, we choose to act on them. Then we have three prepared motions to work that into changes.
Okay.
And then the corrected one for the elected
Right.
officials, that will be then probably in motion 3.
Yeah, number three.
Before you adopt the full county budget, which
Yeah.
was your 3.
All right,
Would
yeah.
that be correct? Oh, yeah, you want that first, I think.
That would be correct.
I think you're ready for motion yet? Yeah.
I move to approve the proposed corrections to the 2025 General Fund Department 227 City of Carroll Assessment Contract as presented by Clayette Zachmeister, Interim Chief Accountant.
Support.
Bill moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Young, to move to approve the proposed corrections to the 2025 General Fund Department 2027 City of Carroll Assessment Contract as presented by Clayette Zachmeister, Interim Chief Accountant. That's the motion. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion been approved. Motion for number 2.
I move to approve the proposed corrections for the 2025 GIS Fund 258 as presented by Clayette Zachmeister, Interim Chief Accountant.
Support. Bill moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lutz, to move to approve the proposed corrections to the 2025 GIS Fund 258 as presented by Clayette Zachmeister, Interim Chief Accountant. Any more discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion been approved.
I move to approve the proposed correction to the 2025 General Fund Department 236 Registered Deeds as presented by Clayette Zachmeister, Interim Chief Accountant. Salary was $74,913, should be $73,487.
Been moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lutz, to move to approve the proposed correction to the 2025 General Fund Department 238 Register of Deeds as presented by Clayette Zachmeister, Interim Chief Accountant. Salary was $74,913, should be $73,487. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's been approved.
So at this point, I did hand out the change and updated all fund sheet. So what's highlighted in yellow is what's been updated. The use of fund balance now is less. The budget and revenue and expenditures equal because we do budget the use of fund balance on the revenue side. Again, your use of fund balance now is only $650,958. And then that carries on down to the bottom because what you're actually going to do is approve all of these budgets today in one lump sum. So the bottom expenditure side will match now with your General Appropriations Act. And I did give you another updated one, and it shows on page 2, I believe. I have crossed out the first changes and now the final changes. Your budget, your final expenditure budgets to be adopted in your act is now at $73,941,098.
Do you need a separate motion for the Appropriations Act, or does the motion to adopt the budget?
There should be a motion already pre-approved previously for the General Appropriations Act. Is there one here?
I don't see one on our proposed sheet. I didn't know if you needed another one since there was changes.
Well, the changes have been presented, they did the motions to do change,
Okay.
and now it's just to approve the General Appropriations Act as written that I just gave to you.
And we do not have a budget or a motion that states that. Our motion just, unless that covers it, the motion proposed is to approve the 2025 fiscal accounting budget as presented. It doesn't state to.
Normally, the motion says to approve General Appropriations Act.
On the back at the top, there's something.
Is there a separate one there?
I don't know if that's what you're making reference to. Is that
Yeah, there it is.
So we need then,
so that instead of this?
I think both.
Oh, okay.
Would that be correct?
They're saying inside.
Okay.
But I do need that motion.
So let's, we
Do
can
the
do
first
the first one, the budget, and then
Okay.
we'll do the appropriations.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the 2025 Tuscola County budget as presented.
The moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lee. Move to approve the 2025 Tuscola County budget as presented. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Been approved.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the General Appropriation Act adoption, the 2025 county budget, and copy of the adoption budget to be incorporated into the financial report section on the county website, making this information available to county officials and the public.
Support.
Please, yeah, I don't have copies of that.
Right at the top.
Been moved by Commissioner Ruth, supported by Commissioner Cook, to move to approve the General Appropriations Act adopting the 2025 county budget and a copy of the adoption budget to be incorporated into the financial reporting section on the county website, making this information available to county officials and the public. As a motion, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion has been approved.
And I believe that takes care of all of your motions, Chairman.
Yep.
Yes.
So moving on then with our agenda. I don't see anything under correspondence of resolutions. We can move right into the liaison reports with Commissioner Cook,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Barnwell.
Behavioral health will be next week. The DDA TIFA, basically what they're focused on right now is selecting a new market manager, which I think it works. EDC has a meeting, which coming up next week, the 18th. Next out of district, we're going to see the announcement that the agreements will be changed in 2025 to Wednesdays of the month, and the first one will be January 22nd. The Sandlot County will be hosting, and the Tuscola, if you read through the rest of them, will be in October. No further updates.
Thank you, Commissioner Young.
So, President Lutz, I have Mr. Woods being thrown over here. That's it.
I have nothing major to report. Commissioner Lutz.
The Board of Health meets next week, and I want to bring the board up to speed on the liaison on the eco-cycle system, eco-cycle. We met with them, and we had them bring their stuff, so we wanted credentials and financials put to our attorney. Our attorney got the stuff. His opinion, it didn't look like it was brought up by an attorney. Everything was in a different language. He said there was red flags. So what I want to know from the board, where do the board want to go from here?
Is certainly don't want to spend any more money with the attorneys.
Right, that's kind of the way I feel about it.
I think it's been a question since the very beginning, this sort of culmination of what may have been presented and thought, but the enthusiasm of the idea was overwhelming, so it's taken its course, and I agree with the chair, we don't want to spend any more money on this, it doesn't seem right.
Well, why would you send your credentials over in a different language to an attorney?
Is your,
I mean, there goes the red flag right there. I mean, I just want to see what the board want to do.
And how long has this been going on? Over a year, is it? Year and a half?
Since April is when you first approved the motion to work on a contract.
I almost think it finds somebody else to partner with. They keep hanging in there, but the longer it takes, the more I'm skeptical.
That's all I got.
okay. Other business is necessary, we got, Commissioner Young with Kathy Hike.
Yeah, I'd like to have the board approval, but do a resolution for Kathy Air from Union Hills. She's been EMT for 37 years on the village council. She's really a big driving force, doing things for the veterans, their Legion, and she was retired after 37 years. And I'd like to do a resolution for her.
Mr. Chairman, just so you know, I got with Angie, and she's gonna work on the resolutions for the football and the volleyball.
And how do you spell Ms. Hare's last name? Do you know?
HARE.
H-A-R-E. And she is retiring from ECW? From ECW?
ECW ambulance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Extend the public comment. Anybody wants to extend the public comment? It's time to do that now.
I'd like to bring back up the issue of the RFP and the fire suppression system. The RFP that was referenced that we think had the correct terminology in it was for the building lease and not for the contractor or the architect. In the matter of getting things going again, I would like to see that we do approve the new fire suppression system so we can go forward and not further any delay. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere in the argument.
Because the RFP had, but the architect submitted.
The RFP that had the fire suppression requirement was for the building, not for.
So hold on. So the RFP that I looked at was for the.
What's your name, sir?
Steve Anderson. So the RFP that I looked at is the one we sent out in 2021. And it was for when we had the other building owners coming to us, hey, look at our building, we did an RFP up on that, and that part was in that RFP. But then for some reason, when we did the RFP, or when the plans came drawn up for this building, those same specifications weren't in the architect's plan. Something got disconnected.
So what we're doing is backtracking,
Yes,
backtracking.
that's what we're doing.
Building, but not for the architect. Do you understand how confusing this is for
Yes.
boards?
Yes, we're looking at stuff in 2020, like I said, 2021.
That was item 6.
So, and then if you look at the architect plan, everything basically is water, fire, suppression. But the RFP that we did for when we were looking at other buildings included the specifications to do the dry chemical system and server.
So this is basically to upgrade the building to meet the specifications, which was originally the building.
No. So the RFP he's referring to, this is important, the RFP he's referring to is the RFP that was put out when we had the building tours. When Mr. Grimshaw and Russell went and viewed all these buildings that were submitted. That's the RFP. That RFP had nothing to do with the remodeling that we're.
Yeah, and I didn't say that.
Okay, I just want to be sure we're clear on it.
So that was like the
Pertaining to
first
the
one.
building search, this is to comply with I said that RFP, but that particular part would be in every, extinguisher. Yeah, but since it wasn't there in the building, you're putting it in, so we're on the same page, different one. Obviously, it's $16,000.
So we still need to do this motion.
Yes.
Yes.
And is the motion as originally written sufficient?
I don't know.
I think so, yeah, I think it would be.
Oh, I gotta wait until,
No,
Oh, can I have our John Hospice?
or should we, oh, we should probably,
Mine is not
Yes.
on that, so.
That, that does appear to be a sufficient motion as originally written.
should we wait, should I wait to make the motion after all public comment or make it now?
Well, it's a little odd to be doing a motion in public comment, but I would.
No, I can
proceed.
wait.
No, I would proceed because this will be in that area and then you can make that motion right there before we go into a different topic.
I move to approve the change order for the server room fire suppression system for the People State Bank PSP building from Boone's Construction in the amount of $16,214. And author all necessary signatures. Sufficient funds are available in this line item for the PSB building 483-901-975002.
Support.
so moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Luke. Move to approve the change order for the server room fire suppression system for the People State Bank PSB building from Boone's Construction in the amount of $16,214 and authorize all necessary signatures. Sufficient funds are available on this line item for the PSB building, 483-901-975-002. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, none approved.
Thank you, board, and my apologies to Mr. Miller for not doing my due diligence before, bringing that before you. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're continue on with extended public comment.
Ashley Bennett, County Treasurer. Two things. One was you were discussing about the resolution for retiring,
Yeah.
I don't know, Mrs. Hare, I think as you said. Didn't know if, as commissioners, you guys considered, we had a lot of, elected officials at the township level replaced this year that served a long time, for their townships, and I don't know if you guys consider doing resolutions for them, if that is something that you want me to reach out to them, the treasurers that have retired and see if they'd be interested. I'm willing to do so, but just it popped in my head when you had mentioned one. I do know like Hoyleton Township lost a supervisor that they've had for quite a while.
Kingston Township.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, Wells Township lost a treasurer that's been treasurer for a lot of years,
Millington Village, 30 years.
but
Kingston Township.
Yeah.
we're not sure if you guys have given that any consideration either, or if that's even something we do, just thought I'd put that out there. Second thing was the discussion about, additional workloads and pay. Jody and I have come to you, this is going into our second term now, my second term, I'm sorry, not hers. Originally, we had asked for raises when, new legislation came through requiring us to provide additional work and requirements on our jobs. And we were told no. And as she stated, the Register of Deeds and the drain commissioners instead were given an additional, I want to say like $1,500 to then match what Jody and I were already making above them. But it seems like you guys want to be told what we're doing additionally to be able to justify those other duties as necessary. Being told that you guys don't have control over who's sitting in your elected officials' offices was another justification we received, that you get to appoint department heads for other positions, so that's why they make more money than your elected clerk and elected treasurer. Which concerns me in that those same people you're saying don't know how to vote for your clerk and treasurer are also seating you in your positions as well. We have more than just our district to be elected through, we have the entire county to represent. But in a nutshell, additional work that was created by this board alone, just for me, was, I don't know if you remember, but when you created that animal control ordinance, of which I was very hands-on with, multiple times rewriting the ordinance for the attorney that couldn't get his copy correct and providing him the most updated copy. But in there, you created a county ordinance bureau and decided the county treasurer should be that person. An additional duty. Safe bill, when you guys decided to do safe bill, you get to keep a 5% admin fee on that, which created additional duties for me to maintain. They have a separate bank account where their credit cards are going in, and I need to balance those, because if they don't verify those credit cards and approve them, we don't get the money. On top of that, we're the only county in our region that collects summer taxes for 9 townships. When you collect summer taxes, you get to keep $2.50 for each parcel you collect for. That is money that's coming into the county that does not need to be. To give you an example of that, it's $32,347.50. That's just the admin fee. Of the $2.50 the state allows us to keep for the state education tax portion. On top of that, we keep the admin fee that is included in the bill. That is $82,808.85. On top of that, I came to you guys and asked because Indian Fields Township didn't have a treasurer to collect winter taxes the 1 year. So this will be our 3rd year or 4th year, for sure 3, collecting for Indian Fields. And that I also get to keep the admin fee for, which is another $19,886.61. So all that additional money for these additional duties that we have to do, that I do, is $135,000 and 96 cents. $135,039.96. So what I'm trying to get at is that we keep coming to you and asking, we're also doing additional duties that have gone above and beyond, additional duties that are brought in by statute, and yet there's zero compensation for it. At what
I
point,
think we gave the stipend to the clerks but she had more additional duties. I don't think this falling on deaf ears. I don't remember all these conversations.
That is, my stipend is for completing the election programming, so that we do
Right.
not have to outsource that to a vendor. That is not for the additional duties because of 18.3 nor 22.2. If I were to outsource that, your swing would be over $90,000 from what you pay me to what you would pay a vendor. So that is different than a stipend for extra duties, just for clarification, sorry to interrupt.
That's fine.
so I guess where I'm at is I understand the budget was approved today and I get that. It's very hard and I don't like coming to you and saying, I deserve a raise when budgets are tight. But at the same time, at what point do we just quit this? I don't have to do this additional $135,000. I don't have to. It's not in statute. I have to collect delinquent taxes as the county treasurer. And at what point do we also respect the electeds and say they are getting more duties put on them by statute? And we need to compensate for that as well. At what point can the board make a decision on this? Because like I said, we had asked multiple years and each year we've been told different things. One was at budget time. So Jody and I, don't know if you remember, we increased our wages for budget and then we got in trouble for touching wages. We weren't supposed to touch wages. Then it was told we couldn't get an increase during our term. However, the Register of Deeds and the Drain Commissioner got that raise during their term. So I'm at the point where I'm asking for direction on when could I expect to have this discussion? What additional information can I provide to you to help make your decision an educated decision? I guess, what do you need from me?
Word. I didn't know we were so mean on this board. You know,
Acting Chairman, Bowley.
Yeah, go ahead.
Certainly from what you described, I can relate to all of that because I've heard that. And I know when we were postponed and wait till the budget circuit. So I'm seeming very accurate. I think the challenge is that how does the board equitably, because nothing's equal maybe, how does the board equitably look at increased responsibility, whether statutorily or voluntarily? How does the board look at that as, to what degree, at what point do you actually need to do something? And the other side of that coin is the argument that we used to hear, we probably still hear it, and maybe I've forgotten some of it, is the inequality between the elected. We've been through that a few years. That's why they're all looking the same now. So I think that's the challenge. There's no, speaking personally as a commissioner, there's no reason. What you've done financially is substantiation in the beginning. And I know as you went through the duties and what you brought in, 135,000. I mean, that you wouldn't have to do that. Just as our clerk wouldn't have to do what she's done. It's an interesting dilemma for the board. I don't know how, right off the top of my head, and then the other commissioners, how to proceed with this. I can tell you passports didn't. I would keep, as one commissioner would say to my right, you can't kick down the road for a lot of years. Across many positions, I guess, but the elected certainly, because you have more access to us. So I think we've got an excellent updating. What is it, let me just throw this back, what would be fair and equitable to you?
Well, so as I'm thinking about it, you guys have approved the assessing contract for City of Carroll, correct? And you're giving 50% of that contract to the assessor. Angie. 50% of what I'm bringing in additionally is a whole lot of money. Right? So if we're setting precedents, 50% of what I'm bringing in is $67,521.49. Right? I think you guys just approved my salary for 73,000. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm almost paying for 50% of, I mean, I'm giving you an additional, right? 2 times my salary, almost. An additional responsibility is that just because I collect these summer taxes, right? Like, it's not just like somebody showing up and making a payment. There's an additional reporting required as a result of that. There's requirements to the state as a result of that. It's not like it's just somebody showing up, making a payment, and we're done. You know, there's additional duties as a responsibility of making those payments. But I'm at the point where I've gone 4 years, right? I've gotten the same increase as everybody else. I feel like I've done more than enough to prove my position. When I first came into office, the discussion was that I was new and you didn't know what you were getting, and maybe I would do a terrible job, right? And not so many words.
I mean, I was here, I don't remember any of that.
You don't remember the discussion being
No,
that?
that you was new,
Yeah.
talking about good job you
Jody,
doing.
do you remember that discussion
I don't
where I
remember
was
that
new
discussion.
and it was first year? It happened. And I sat back and respected that. I was new, right? But I feel like over 4 years, I've done more than enough to prove my position. I've taken our interest earnings from $100,000 to $1 million in total for all funds. That's substantial. Without that, where would this county be?
Well, getting back to Commissioner Bible place, we have all the electeds, and not everybody is equal job. You know, Jody does things that those electeds don't have to do, and you're for the board. How do you weigh that? You know, and that's his point, which is a good point. And I understand exactly what you're saying too, but as a board, we have to look at, how do we weigh that out? How do we, because if we weigh it the way that you're suggesting we weigh it, we have problems on the other end too. So, but it has to be addressed, that's why we're here in those positions, to deal with stuff.
I think, I will say, I feel, I don't understand why we made the 4 electeds the same. And I'm only gonna speak to my position. I oversee 23 townships, 9 cities, or 9 villages and 2 cities. Jody has to deal with those same jurisdictions with the clerks, right? I don't think the jobs are equal. I don't know, because I don't do those jobs. I can speak to what my job is, and I know that we both have to be right there for those treasurers and clerks.
So then your answer is evaluate everybody's elected position to pay according to what they, which is fine, I don't have a problem with that. So everybody could be different, you could be 80,000, they could be 65,000, that will be the way you do it.
That's your decision.
No, but I mean, that's the only way you can.
I'm not here to ask for somebody to make less than me necessarily, but I'm here to ask for at what point do I start getting compensated for the same thing you're trying to compensate other people for doing?
And we've never
That's
done,
where I'm at.
yeah, we've never brought up anybody, I mean, ever since I was hired, we never went back to fill her role. We've never done anything in there, to compensate anybody in there for lessons, we just brought it up, that's why it's been brought up now. But I understand what you're saying, the more,
Mr. Chair,
yeah.
Commissioner Bardwell, as the finance, you and I as the finance committee, is this something we could spend some time looking at, seeing if it's something we can do? I was not on the board during
You're right.
those years.
Neither was Commissioner.
Right, and I'm not
saying it's, I'm
No, no,
not,
no,
yeah.
but I just, and the reason I say
I
that,
agree, I think the long legacy here, right, wrong, or indifferent, and of course we got impending financial issues in the future. But I was asking earlier, what is the range you think that this should be in? I mean, with all the additional duties, responsibilities, et cetera. Commissioner Cook and I sit down, but what?
and I don't think,
What range
Yeah.
that we could consider? Because let's face it, the county is not stellar at job descriptions, evaluations. I mean, nothing like the private industry. It's really very much who's the board? And at the time, how we're feeling and financial wherewithal. So I guess what I was asking, just suggesting, not at the hard, it's hard figured. As Commissioner Cook and I get together, what is it? With all
I
the
wish I had an
complications?
answer for you. I don't have a value in my head, honestly, I don't. The
Is
fact
that
that it's
something
a
you could?
discussion, yeah, the fact that you're even open for a discussion, I was at the point where, I don't know, I didn't come to you because I want this dollar amount, like, that's not where I'm at. I wanted to know what's my next step, because I'm lost with it, where are we going?
Well, and again.
I'm open to that,
Yeah,
and I think Commissioner Bardwell is too.
And I think you're right, I mean, you come in, these are statutory duties, these are what I'm doing, it's like we're talking about over here, this is what you signed up to do, this is what you're doing, you know what I'm saying? And that's somebody you can evaluate and say, wait, you'll say, hey, this is what I'm statutory as a treasurer, this is what I have to do, this is what I'm doing above what I have to do, and this is where the discussion is.
And I will say, like, when I see money that the county can make, I'm gonna be like, yeah, let me do it.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
not,
you
right?
Yeah,
Like,
you know.
I'm bringing money in for us, right? We're struggling financially, like, let's bring some more money in. If I can do it, let's do it. So I'm not going after these things to be like, hey, I want more money. I don't get any of this. For 4 years, I've done this. I didn't get anything for it. I just did it to help the county as a team, right? That's how I see this county.
And that's why Pat's up back here, she came back, because
Exactly.
she cares about the county.
Right? She felt bad for us,
Right, that's right, exactly right.
and she joined back in with
All right,
us.
so. You joined back in this, we're gonna do. But anyway, so.
No, I've always said that as for private industry, has no route because everybody goes through a performance review at the end of the year. So you know what their value is. You bring in a lot more money than another department head, so you can justify when you're putting in 15 hours more a week. So I think
It's got to be a thing. I think Matt had a great thing, it's something I think maybe him and the finance chair, you know, ought to get together along with interested parties, talk about things we want to talk about over there too yet. So we haven't decided on that, but I think we can get the conversation going.
actually you get paid for that and they,
So the fun.
And I do a lot of it. I will tell you to update you on that, because you asked the question. I was doing weekly meetings with the state land bank for this project of the church that we took over, and it's become so much. I stepped back and said, I can't do this, so the EDC is going to do it, and as a result, they're gonna take the admin fee to pay them. But I can't keep giving.
Right.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at, is that something's gonna give, right? When you're not being compensated, or it's not even necessarily a compensation thing as much as an appreciation thing. Feeling valued for all of the things that I do additionally.
You know, just be myself, I don't think you're undervalued. I think, you know, you might seem undervalued, but you're not undervalued to us. We know exactly what you're doing. But as myself as a county commissioner, we have so many other things on our plate too, we'll do with the township issues, you know, and we sometimes overlook just what you're saying.
But just to be fair, how many townships do you oversee?
I oversee, 6.
I oversee 23.
Right, but I.
9 villages and 2 cities. So
you
just
know,
say you're too busy to say,
I'm not saying to
thank
do that,
you,
we get
or-
involved in other things where we just overlook things that we should not be able to, you know what I'm saying? You know, that's all I'm saying.
got it.
If I could just add some history.
Sure.
So a previous board did recognize that the clerk and treasurer responsibilities were heavier than the other 2 electeds, and that's where they were paid more. It wasn't until Dan Grinshaw came on this board who pulled them all together and didn't pay attention anymore to the additional duties and responsibilities that the clerk and the treasurer have. So in the past, it was noted, the commissioners made it right. And now we're at a point where I think there's even more like, I think.
Well, and it's not only that, but I also feel that we've seen it a lot at the local unit level. The amount of duties that are being required of us, people don't even want these positions anymore. And at what point do, you know, Jody could go be the register of deeds instead of the clerk? We're fortunate that we have a clerk of the year, right? She, not this year, but last year, as our county clerk. I'd like to think I do a good job in my job. I feel like we have a lot of very well-respected individuals in our elected officials positions, and we're very fortunate. But what does this county look like if we didn't have these key players in those areas? What position would you all be in? Like, I feel like we're helping keep this rolling. Clea coming back was an addition back to us to help keep this rolling. What would your job look like if she said no? What would your job look like if we didn't run? Somebody would do it, right?
Yeah, we don't, who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, you know, but,
You know, Chairman, that's just like the same thing we heard from the prosecutor. I mean, they're putting all kinds of hours in, they're getting the same amount of money. They're putting this there at 10, 11 o'clock at night, I can confess to that, sure. And they're getting the same amount. You are very appreciated, I appreciate you much. You brought a lot of money in this company. And I appreciate Jody. This is something that I think, like they said, they need to get together and see what they can do.
Definitely.
Like, it's gonna be something a year from now, or we're,
As soon as you can meet with us, right? Commissioner Buckwell?
I think every Christian, right, well, you should get together.
Absolutely.
Talk, well, when you're with it, then you need to bring the answer to the conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
Ashley's generally available with us.
Right.
what?
You're
I said
generally
your eyes
available.
available, not us.
It's the two of
Well,
us.
if there's 2 commissioners as our subcommittee, it will be a probably meeting that we'll need to post and coordinate that, so.
Correct.
Or should be.
Correct.
So, okay.
We're not forgetting that.
You know, it's my job to make
All
sure.
right.
I know it is.
all right, you got it.
Thank you,
There's,
Ashley.
any more public comment?
Pam Shook had her hand raised earlier, but I don't see her on the call anymore, but I'd like to bring that to the attention. Yeah.
Let the record show that public comment was offered, Clerk Fetty, and we did have 2 responses, and we appreciate that. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn the committee.
I'll make that.
Commissioner.
Support.
Then moved by Commissioner Roots, supported by Commissioner Cook, to adjourn the commission meeting this morning. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting has been adjourned. With that, call the order of the statutory finance meeting this morning. Can we have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Young?
Here.
Commissioner Barnwell?
Here,
Commissioner Vaughn?
Here.
Commissioner Luke?
Here.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
You have a forum, you may proceed.
Action on previous minutes.
I'll make a motion on the previous meeting minutes, statutory finance 25 November of 2024.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Wood, supported by Commissioner Cook, to approve the statutory finance for 2025-2024 minutes. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion been approved. Little new business, the approval of the finance report checks.
Make a motion to review and approval of the finance report and checks 12/12/24 finance docket. Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lewis, to approve the finance report checks for 12/12/24 finance docket. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's been approved. Review and approval of the daily report checks.
Chair, I review and approve the daily reports and checks 12/12/24 daily docket.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Lewis, supported by Commissioner Cook, to review and approval of the daily report checks 12/12/24 of the daily docket. Any more discussion?
Chairman, I do have an observation. Everybody's desk is clean. If you go into the managed assigned council for a 2-week period between 11/26 and 12/11, total amount of payout was $59,000. Out of that, which is list all the attorneys, one attorney made $12,000 in that particular time. 2 made at least 8. And you just have to scan it. We haven't done this in a while, but it really leads to what you said, Commissioner Roots, is that we have a problem.
Yeah.
And why would you want to be on the prosecution side when you could be on the NIDC?
And that's why they can't find anybody, Commissioner. That's the exact reason.
And now we've lost in our system. We are going to be challenged. So I just want to bring that up, something that we should probably ought to take, at least be cognizant of, that we can see what's going on, but I'm surprised there hasn't been more of a roar. I guess our prosecutors are too busy.
Well, that's the problem. We got 3 counties that don't have prosecutors.
Can you do one look at the invoice to see what period that covers?
Yeah, it could be a
Because it
longer
could be a
period.
long case, a capital case.
But you gotta stop and figure the state just gave them $600,000. That's, you have apples and oranges compared to what the prosecutor gets.
Yeah, it would be an interesting one if you'd like to do that. It's very obvious who it is. It's a 2-week period to submit the bill. I'm surprised if it was that, or a period of time they wouldn't submit it in increments. But I'm not sure. Anyway, that's what you mean.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The report check's been approved. I don't see any per diem reports. Nothing on the old business. Public comment on the statutory finance part of the meeting. When the hearing opens, let's record show the public comment was offered. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Been moved by Commissioner Booth, supported by Commissioner Young to adjourn the statutory finance board. All in favor, say aye.
Before we leave, you have nothing to
this on this week?
Yeah, right now.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, sir.